Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday meditation gathering. It's great to see you all here. This week we have Ruth White, who will lead us in meditation. Then we have 20 minutes of silence. After that, we'll open it up for sharing, and we end at 10:45. Over to you, Ruth.
Right. God is, and everything else is unreal. It's a very powerful statement. It's really up to us what we make real by giving it attention. The power of our attention is enormous. It's everything. So, what do we entertain in our minds? Whatever we do give our attention to magnifies it. It becomes bigger. And if we listen to what's going on in the mind, it's often circling thoughts. In fact, very often. So does this mean we're going to become very good warriors? Because if that's what we choose to practice. I like to think of it as two sides of the brain, the different right and left hemisphere, which are actually completely separate. You know, if you held the brain in your hands, they could fall apart. But they balance. And in yogic terms, they balance when you're breathing through both nostrils. You know, the right side of the brain looks after the left side of the body and vice versa. And the left side is the fear side. And the right side is the love side. And we can choose. This is the one choice we have, the one thing we can change. And when we do, it can be a little miracle. We can be deeply into worries, and then suddenly a little memory of what we really are comes in, and the world changes. The world changes. We've changed into the right hemisphere of the brain and the love side. The left side is our intellectual side. And the intellect, although very useful and necessary, is not in the now. It's not in the real world. No, it's not the real world. It's it's everything, including the body. The left side. So we can't have both. We're either in one or the other. And for instance, I'm walking along, I think I had mentioned this before. I'm walking along the road. There's a little path here, and it's got a wide verge with beautiful flowers growing there. And I'm looking at the flowers, and I'm enjoying the beauty of them. It's just rained, and they're sparkling in the sun. And I'm not content with that. I want to know their names, the flowers' names. And so it switches over to the left hemisphere, and I'm searching in my mind and thinking, how many petals have they got? Have they got a hairy stem, a square stem, a round stem? And I'm looking to identify them. I'm not seeing them anymore. I'm into my mind. I'm not in the present. And I'm not aware of that. And then suddenly I realized that I walk past the flowers and I miss them. It seems to me that the answer is always in coming back to the present moment. And in this present moment, the past and the future are non-existent. Non-existent. So you come back to the manifest creation, which is there to enjoy and play and be spontaneous about. Are we aware of when the mind changes over? Perhaps we can see it in children, if we have children in the family or any children, how at first they're always spontaneous. They're always there. And then at the age, it could be 3 or 4, it could be 6 or 7. They change over and they think first before they say, hello, hello, Granny. And it's necessary. But even in as we are now, the mind is right first and then it changes over to the left. You've got a chance to stay in the present and not go into the intellectual center. If you're awake enough to see what's going on. You know, Eckhart Tolle writes about the power of the present moment, the power of now. And that's where the power is, in the center, in the present, balanced between the two. So it's this balance that makes us very powerful. Just to make it more practical in the now, can you just detect whether you're breathing through the right or the left nostril? Probably one will be dominant. If you close one nostril and listen to the sound, the one that's receiving more air through it is a lower note than the other one. James is very intellectual. He's not going to try this. And so we only breathe through one nostril for about 3/4 of an hour generally. And then it changes over. And it's in that changeover period that you can be completely now. And of course, yogis practice this with alternate nostril breathing until they get into their center, into their power. But we won't go into all that. So what about the delight of the present moment? The delight of playing with children. Nothing particularly that you're aiming for, just play. There are certain things that I find helpful, like swimming. You're usually in the now when you get into that cold water. And it actually uses a healing method, isn't it? Cold water. It stops you thinking. You can just have to be in the now then. Something very quick like table tennis, you know, needs your attention in the now. Walking in nature. A lot of walking around here. We're luckily surrounded in fields. I mean, I'm incredibly lucky. But we can fall into the trap of identifying with it. We are rather besotted, at least I am, by the material world. It's incredible. And if we're wearing our ego cap unknowingly, we tend to identify with the role we're playing, don't we? I think Shakespeare said you can wear many hats in your life, or something like that. But my ego is more like a cloak. It seems to envelop me sometimes. And I believe what the ego has made for me. You know, I think I'm a good yoga teacher. I think that I'm dyslexic. I think that I'm very busy. All these things you identify with, and it's difficult to throw the cloak off. It's difficult. This is where good company and meditation and our practices are so incredibly helpful. Books too, enlightened writings are wonderful. So we need our practices. We need to get together like this. It's very powerful, your presence. It's like all our energies are multiplied together, not just added together, to take us back into the peace and quiet of the now. Yes, practicing is a little discipline, but has a very powerful influence. There was I was trying to find the Royal School of Music, and I was in Queensgate searching around, and I knew it was somewhere near. And so I asked a busker who was playing his fiddle on the side of the road, how do you get to the Royal School of Music? And he said, practice, 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 which is true. You know, these violinists and the pianists, they spend hours practicing. Yes, it's whatever we give our attention to grows, manifests. So we need to be a little bit careful about this. And when somebody's moaning and groaning, don't add to it. Take their attention to the beautiful clouds or the helpful nurses or whatever it is. Don't add to their grumbles. Yes. So we've all got habits that we fall into, vasanas, I think they're called, vasanas, and some of them are necessary habits, but knowingly, play the role knowingly that you're playing a role, because it's all a game, really. It's all fun. And to take it seriously would be disastrous. In my case, it would be disastrous. But you can see the light in somebody's eyes or the expression on their face, or just that little faint smile when they're talking to you, whether they're at home or not, whether they're with it, whether they're in the now. And it wakes you up if they are. The power of your attention is such a great gift to whoever you're with or speaking to. Or the plants and the flowers. I make a little habit of saying how beautiful they are, the plants, and I'm sure they respond. Sure they do. Yes. So it's good to remember what is real, the permanent, the unmoving, something that never changes. in the lovely um, reading, God is with you wherever you go.
Open your eyes slowly and come back into the room. We have 9 minutes left for sharing your reflections and your questions. If you'd like to speak, raise your hand, or you can use the reactions button at the bottom of the screen, and I'll invite you to take yourself off mute. And if you'd like to ask Ruth a question or comment with confidentiality, put your message in the chat function at the bottom of the screen, and I'll read it out. Who'd like to share? Catherine, take yourself off mute.
Hi, Ruth. Thank you for that. I think my question might be a yoga question. I was very intrigued by you saying that the nostril that's through which we're breathing primarily is the lower note. And before that, you talked about left brain and right brain. And I just wondered, are there different states we access more when we're breathing through one nostril or the other?
Yes, there are. When you're breathing through both nostrils, then the nadis, the little pathways of energy, prana we call it in yoga, same as the acupuncture points, they become, it means that they're working. The flow is even. I just said right and left nostril because it's sometimes difficult to identify when you're testing which nostril it is. So if you listen to the sound, when it's restricted, it's a higher note. But that may not, your ear may not be tuned to that. Just feel the air in the nostril.
Oh, you meant literally, it is a
Yes.
musical
Oh, yeah,
note.
literally.
Oh, I thought it was just a phrase, like that's the lower note. Like
No.
you can get notes in wine, can't you?
Yes, yes. And just like you choose to come into the love world, then that is the right side of the brain. You know, when you're aware of your mind has gone to judging or maybe criticizing, nice things too, you know, judging. But really, it's all the same. It's all a dream, and just enjoy it. But when you find that you have gone into judging, then by just being aware, it'll change.
Mm.
Take a step back and look at it again, and you may see it differently.
So that judgment or that access to either one or the other has nothing to do with which nostril we're.
Yes, it was.
Oh, it
If you're breathing through the right nostril, for instance,
yeah.
the left brain it's always crossing over in the body. Yes?
Yeah. So right nostril is left brained.
The right nostril is left brain. The left brain looks after the right side of the body, the whole right side of the body. But that's just the physical thing. It also is the fear world, which is past and future. It's the right side is in the present, just accepting it as it is. And that's the love side.
So
Holy Spirit.
You said they swap every 45 minutes. So
that's just roughly. Yes, we won't get too much into this because they do. You know, when you're sitting listening to a lecture, it's very well timed, this program, because it's 45 minutes. So you could get a little bit stale and bored after 45 minutes. And that's the usual time. A child, of course, is in the present all the time, in the right.
My question would be, like yourself doing all these practices, or even ourselves, because you're including us as people with an aspiration to be more present, would you expect to like favor one nostril over the other as you go through life?
Well, I think we all here now would favor breathing through the left nostril so that it's centered over to the right. We'd all favor the Holy Spirit, wouldn't we? Given the choice.
Okay. Thank you.
who'd like to share? Jim, take yourself off mute.
Yes, thanks, Dan. And thank you, Ruth. Yes, as you've just said, the important thing is, are we listening to the Holy Spirit or are we listening to the ego?
Yes. Yeah.
What I found when you were speaking was that when you said I was intellectual, I found that as a bit of an attack, which was interesting because there are certain contexts where I'd actually find that quite complimentary. But in your case, I found it felt like a bit of an attack. I was with you. I want to reassure you, I was totally with you, Ruth, because I've done quite a bit of work on nostril breathing myself in the past.
Yeah.
I don't do much now, but it is possible, as you know, quite easily, in fact, to know which nostril is the dominant one without putting your finger on your nose.
Yes.
And in meditation, what I recognize, so I still recognize now, although I don't give it much attention, that in a deep meditation, both nostrils are fully open.
Yes.
And that's always, it's a kind of, not that I suppose it's not really needed, I suppose, but it's a confirmation that the meditation has gone deep.
Yes.
When are breathing with the same breath.
Oh, thank you for that, James. Yes. And do you find that you're breathing through both nostrils in meditation?
In meditation, if it's a deep meditation, I notice, I don't look out for it, but I notice that both nostrils are equal in their breath. And that is actually a kind, for some people who do a lot of yoga breathing, that is a confirmation that they're in deep meditation.
Yes.
We have other ways, of course, in the course, but it's confirmations.
Yes. Oh, thank you for that. Yes. Of course, we would be in a sad state if we didn't have the left brain working, if we didn't have the intellectual center working. They're both absolutely necessary in this world.
Yes. Which is, I'm really called an intellectual. I've had very little academic success in my life. So thank you for the compliment.
It's a compliment. I don't have much.
Norman, would you like to ask a question?
No, it's more a remark. Just to say thank you very much, because my ego had a field day. You know, when you said if you close one nostril to move the other one, my immediate thought was, geez, I'm going to look bloody stupid with the finger up my nose, which, you know, was purely an ego thing. And then, but then the whole thing got much more quieter and gentler when you mentioned flowers. You know, we do have a tendency not just to dissect flowers, but to dissect anything we can get our hands on to see how they work. And we miss the inherent beauty that's in them. And it's the same when we meet other people. You know, we're say, well, they have this sort of a coat Sally's wearing, or look at her, you know. Judgment just pops straight in, you know, doesn't get it, you don't get a chance to say, oh, here's a beautiful person, you know. So, you know, it's been good for me. And I just, next time I look at a rose, I say, that's a lovely flower. I'm not giving it to me. And if I see someone that I haven't met, you know, that's a lovely person. So thank you very much.
As soon as we label something, we think we know, don't we? And then we don't see it much. Yes. Norman, you don't need to be quite so rough with your nose when you do it. It's a very, very gentle touch.
But my nose is a bit of a mess, you know, through past silly things to be doing, faking and things like that.
Yes, it's so informative, isn't it? The breath.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, yes.
Dennis, did you want to say something?
Thank you, Ruth. Just two things. When I started to meditate, I noticed my left nostril was more powerful than the right. And years ago, when I first started to meditate, I read, I think it was Brunton, Rama Maharishi, about Purana breathing was in one nostril, hold, let go of the left, in that nostril, hold, and then let go of the right. And I found also, if you did it amongst a flower, you get quite high Thank you.
That's lovely. Yes, thank you.
Okay, we've come to the end of our time together. Thank you, Ruth. That was wonderful. And take yourself off mute and show your appreciation to Ruth.
Thank you, Ruth. That
Thank
was
you,
wonderful.
Ruth.
Very
Thank you,
much.
Ruth.
That was amazing.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank you
much.
Very much.
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Miracle Network.
Miracle